Hey everyone, so my name's Catherine. I just wanted to get on here to share my story about POTS. So just a little bit of like background info. I have quite a lot of other chronic illnesses that I know of now. I have POTS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, IBS, I have hypothyroidism, potentially an autoimmune disease. We're still looking into that. But today I just want to specifically talk about my POTS diagnosis story and sort of the signs that led up to it that I kept getting misdiagnosed and people missed. So if you want to know more about like what I do to manage my other conditions, things like that, I can make separate videos on that, but this is just what I'm going to talk about today. So first of all, I'm trying to think where it really all started. I mean, obviously I've had Ehlers-Danlos my whole life. I was always more sensitive than most people to beauty products and such. Certain foods I would always become a lot more sensitive. If I eat too much junk food, I would always throw up, always, without a doubt. I've been lactose intolerant my whole life. I know that's very common with people with POTS. When I was probably the beginning of high school, so freshman year, when I was 15, I started having these episodes of what seemed like intense anxiety, but it wasn't anxiety. Now I know obviously it was POTS. So my high school has 3 floors, and during my study hall, I was in the cafeteria, which is on the bottom floor, and we would sit there for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then the bell would ring, you would stand up, and immediately I'd have to walk up 3 flights of stairs. And I got up to the top of these 3 flights of stairs, and I would start having heart palpitations, dizzy, feel like pins and needles in my body. Gosh, you know what you feel when you're having a POTS attack. And I kept telling this to my parents and to my friends. I was like, I always like feel this way whenever I like, especially this time of day, right? And people kept telling me, oh no, like it's impossible to not feel well at this exact same time every day doing this exact thing that you're doing. Like that doesn't make any sense. It has to be anxiety. But obviously now I know that when you sit for almost an hour straight, stand immediately up and walk up 3 flights of stairs, it's definitely going to give you some tachycardia, and which is going to cause all the rest of that. So, but I think that as a freshman, I had that happen. I would have heart palpitations all the time. I don't really know how to explain some of it. It's very weird. I'm sure everybody's different. Everyone has their own things. I would mainly feel stuff like around here, almost like, I want to say gurgling, but not. It's like almost like a muscle twitch. But it felt like palpitations at the same time. Like weird stuff like that. I'd feel that a lot. So that started to kind of weird me out because it never happened to me before. So I was starting to almost become like this hypochondriac, but for good reason, because obviously I had way more issues than I even knew about. And I would always just wonder, like, why do I always feel this way? Why am I always getting heart palpitations? Why am I always dizzy? Why do I always not feel good? Why am I always nauseous, you know? And another big thing was anytime that there was a large event like homecoming week, a concert, I would always spend every single weekend with my cousin Casey, and we would stay up all hours of the night, eat junk food, run up and down the stairs, you know, have dance parties, all of the above. And every single like Sunday night, I would come home sick, like in bed, migraine, feeling weak, all that jazz. And my parents would always say, oh, you overdid it, you know, you went to school all week and you partied too hard this weekend or whatever. And mind you, we did not drink or do drugs or any of that. We were just 2 kids having fun. So I was like, oh yeah, I overdid it, you know, I stayed up all night, I just need to get some rest. But I realize now that like that's not normal. Kids do that stuff all the time. You shouldn't feel like that, you know, when you're done just having a sleepover at your friend's house where you stayed up all night. You might be tired, but it's definitely not normal to feel all those other things. And so continuing my freshman year of high school, I really had a migraine like every single day. I mean, I remember waking up with migraines. And now I believe that it was because my blood pressure was too low, and that's sort of what triggered it. But I would have a migraine every day. I would take ibuprofen every day before school, even before the pain hit, because I knew it was gonna come. I would have to miss hanging out with friends because of these migraines. I would I'm trying to think, sorry guys. um, I miss hanging out with friends with these migraines. I would every day, at the end of the day I had German class, and I remember like vividly sitting in this class and just like feeling almost like the blood drain out of my head, and the feeling of a migraine and like extreme fatigue, and always being like, oh, what the heck is this, and thinking, oh, it's just a migraine, it's just a migraine. But things started to progress kind of slowly. In 10th grade, I started dancing a lot, exercising a lot, which helped. I truly believe that kind of warded off the worst of my symptoms, because during that time I was having so much less problems, and I was drinking a lot of water to compensate with the exercise I was doing, which I think really helped. And I remember having conversations with my dad that like, how come when I drink water I feel better? And he's like, oh, you just out of shape, you just need to exercise, eat better, you know? And it's funny that it's so easy to dismiss it like that, because if you think about it, oh, water and exercise makes me feel better. And disclaimer, I know it's not like that for everyone, and I'm currently going through a spell where it's not like that for me either. But at the time it was. And it's just interesting because not knowing, like, you know, the anatomy and stuff behind it, like, you need the water for your blood volume, you know, you need to work out so your muscles can like tighten your veins and push the blood back up to your head and things like that. So now it makes sense, but at the time it was strange. So I got better for a little bit because of that. And afterwards, I'd probably say like my junior year in high school, this is super dumb, so bear with me, was doing laundry, and my laundry room has a cabinet over the washer. I opened the door to get the detergent out. I was dancing to Beyonce. I leaned down to pick up my laundry, and I leaned up like, boom, hitting the beat on the song, and I smacked the back of my head really hard. I saw stars. And I went to the doctor, got a CT, everything was normal. They said basically I had like a mild concussion. And ever since then, I had problems. I would have headaches. Call them headaches because I didn't know what else it was. My head would hurt so bad, I'd be so lightheaded, super duper shaky. And I would miss school. I think I missed school for 2 weeks at a time, like 2 or 3 times in 11th grade, because it was so bad. And I remember my mom telling me, oh, you've missed school for almost 3 weeks, like you need to go to school. So I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And I pushed myself to go to school, like, you're gonna go to school whether you feel bad or not, like you've been feeling this way for a while. And I got there. I immediately walked up the 3 flights of stairs to get to my locker, because I was on the top floor. And I remember the bell ringing and everyone going to, you know, their first period, and I was clutching the wall because I just felt like I was gonna faint. Like, things were blurry, and I was clutching the wall, asking someone to walk me to the nurse, and they were like, no, sorry, we have to get to class, because you'll be marked late if you don't go first period. And I remember, almost like in a movie scene, seeing the hallway, which was super long, my school was very large, seeing the hallway almost like get like so much longer, because I'm staring at the end of the hallway, and I'm at the total almost beginning of the hallway, and I have to get to the end of the hallway and go down 3 whole flights of stairs to make it to the nurse. And that was probably one of the most like scariest things that's happened to me, because I genuinely thought like I was just gonna like drop down at like any second. And my mom picked me up from school, and I had really strange things. Like, I started to go into a panic attack, but it was also having a POTS flare at the same time, so the two together is like horrible. Don't do it, don't recommend. But I was having such strange sensations. Like, my face would go numb. I'd be like, oh my gosh, Mom, I can't feel my face. Just super weird stuff like that. So that's kind of the stuff that I experienced then. And then the summer after 11th grade, so going into my senior year of high school, I basically became very sick. Like, those episodes of those headaches, feeling faint, all that stuff would come and go, be better for a period of time, worse for a period of time, kind of just in like waves, you know. And then the summer after that, is when it really hit me. Basically, I was exercising one day and I kind of felt, I remember it being around the 4th of July. I planted flowers. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a garden. My cousin Casey came over, we were hanging out. It was like the next day I was exercising, and I remember feeling like shaky, like, oh, I'm just gonna stop exercising, I don't feel that good. And then a couple days after that, each day I felt like one of those bad headaches was coming on, like I just felt weak and pain in my head, lightheaded, all of that stuff. And I remember pretty much the moment that, like, it was like POTS, like I know in my brain, like, this is it, that was the moment. I got up out of bed. I hadn't gone to sleep yet. It was probably like 1 in the morning. And I walked downstairs to get a snack or a drink or something, you know, take some ibuprofen. And I remember the whole room just going whoosh and me clutching onto the counter like, oh my gosh. And I like literally could not move. Like, it was the scariest thing I've ever experienced. It was worse than being in the hallway that day. And ever since that happened, it has pretty much just been like that. Like, from that moment forward, like, I was having a hard time doing anything, any form of walking. I would, like, my bedroom was upstairs. There's a couple of times I had to have my dad walk me down the stairs because I was so afraid I was going to fall down the stairs because of how weak I was. And at the time, I'll do another video about some misdiagnoses, but at the time, I went to the doctor. They were basically telling me that they think I had Lyme, which now I know that it was inconclusive, but basically it was negative. And so we were blaming it, oh, you have Lyme, even though I know that POTS is very, very common with Lyme. So I was basically bedridden for the whole duration of the summer. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't hang out with anyone. I was supposed to go on vacation with 2 different of my friends, and I could not do it. I would lay on the couch at night. My mom works nights as a nurse, so when she was off, she was generally awake through the night on the couch watching TV. And I would lay on the couch at night to sleep instead of my bed because I literally thought that at any second I would drop dead. Like, I felt like I was dying. And that's such a hard thing to go through when you feel like that and no one can tell you why, especially when people just write it off as like anxiety and stuff. And see, in my mind, like, I never once had a thought of like, oh, am I crazy? That never crossed my mind because I knew how I felt. And I think it's so important to listen to your body and really be your own advocate because I knew how I felt and I knew I wasn't crazy. You can't just make that stuff up. And I would lay on the couch at night with my mom because I just didn't want to be alone. I was so scared. And I remember getting ready for school my senior year thinking that, oh, I can just put on a cute outfit, do my mascara, go to school and pretend like nothing is wrong. No. I went the first day. It was extremely hard. And that's the only day all school year that I made it through a complete day of school. And I remember from that day forward, I would have to be picked up halfway through the day, or I would not be able to go to school until halfway through the day. I'd go at like noon or later. Sometimes I'd just show up for one class in the morning or at the end of the day because I was trying so hard to at least get to one class. Like, I remember, like, I'd feel like I literally couldn't get out of bed, and so Monday I'd go to my first period, trying to make it, oh, too sick, come home. The next day, oh, made it through first and second, too sick, had to come home. Made it through first only, had to come home. The other day, oh, I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't get there till sixth period, till way after lunch, but I had to go. Like, it was to the point where, like, if you had a doctor's appointment and you were like, oh, there's only an hour left in the school day, no point in going back. Like, it was to the point where, like, I went anyway because I had to, like, I was missing school. And long story short, I ended up switching to cyber school, and I was very fortunate that I had a great guidance counselor that worked with me and let me use the English credits I already had. And really, I actually had to do some courses, like double the workload that normal people would in cyber school because I had missed so much school and I wanted to graduate on time. And thankfully, the cyber program was still in the school district, so I could go to cyber school and then still go to prom and graduate with my class that I had been with for 4 years. So I'm very grateful for that. But I just remember having episodes like that. The nurses knew me every single day. I'd come there, I'd be like, I need to go home. They'd call my mom, she'd come get me. And I remember the nurse one day, I'd never cried at school. I'm not that type. And I went back into one of the rooms where they let you lay down and like pull the curtain, and I just started bawling. And I am sure every single person in the whole nurse's office could hear me. And the nurse came in and she took my blood pressure and wrote it down. And then she took it a couple minutes later, and then she did it a third time. And she wrote it on this little piece of paper she tore off and handed to me. And she said, show this to your doctor. And to this day, I still don't know what that piece of paper said. I just put it in my backpack and I lost it. But I imagine that it was probably somewhat abnormal and she was trying to help me. But we did a lot of research. Basically went to my pediatrician a lot. He could not figure out what it is for the life of him. He diagnosed me with anxiety, said that was all it was. I saw another doctor. They said it could be Lyme. We'll go ahead and treat you for that. I'll do another video all about my misdiagnoses and treatments I had for that. And I went to an ENT to make sure that the dizziness and such wasn't coming from my inner ear. They told me that I had BPPV, which is benign positional vertigo, basically. And I didn't have that. People were always confused. Like, I remember when I was at the nurse's office, she was so confused. Like, you have this, but you feel like, look at you, like you're shaking. And she's like, that's just inner ear dizziness. You shouldn't be so faint and lightheaded and stuff. And I didn't understand like a lot of what I understand now. So I was thinking to myself, that's weird. Like, I don't know, I don't get it. Just kind of brushed it off. And then I went to a neurologist to get a scan of my brain, because of course when a young woman says she's sick and gets written off as anxiety, naturally the only thing it can be is a brain tumor. So I immediately got checked to make sure everything in my brain was okay. So the MRI came back normal, and I just got diagnosed with atypical migraines. There was quite a few times that I went to urgent care for a migraine, which I now know is a POTS attack, and they just gave me prescription painkillers. And I didn't take them. And thankfully my mom was a nurse and was able to help guide me through some of this stuff, because I just it wasn't the pain that was the problem. Like, I can deal with pain. I've had migraines my whole life. It's the feeling lightheaded, the shakiness, the tachycardia, the faintness, the weird visual, like, loss of vision, blurry vision, seeing floaters, like seeing stars, all that kind of stuff. That was the problem. And it wasn't until my mom did her own research and looked up stuff on Google, found a doctor near me that was actually on this list for POTS patients, and she said that she thinks I have some form of dysautonomia. So we went to a cardiologist, and he told me that he's not really sure where I fall, but we think that I am on the spectrum of dysautonomia somewhere. And I was like, wow, okay, great. Like, what you're saying is matching what my mom says. Like, we're starting to get somewhere. And after that, we just kind of weren't satisfied with that. We knew we were getting closer, but we knew that there was more to it. And so she did a lot more research, and she came to the conclusion, she's like, I really think you have POTS. Like, read this. This is exactly what you have. This explains why it's so hard for you to walk upstairs and things. And so we found another doctor on a list online, and we went to him, and he did the poor man's like tilt table test, where it's not the actual tilt table test, but you just lie down, sit, and stand, and he takes your pulse and your blood pressure. And I got an echo of my heart and an EKG, make sure everything was all good. I wore a Holter monitor, make sure everything was all good. That all came back totally normal, other than the tachycardia. So he told me then, this is POTS, and this is what you have. And I remember just being so glad to have a name for it. And then the kind of like grief set in, because he looked at me and he was like, this is not curable. There's really no treatment for this. There's nothing that we can do other than stay hydrated. He put me on Midodrine for my blood pressure. And told me to try compression socks. And that was it. And this video is getting quite long, so I'll make, like I said, I just really want to start a community with you guys and make videos sharing my experience, hopefully help other people. And so I'll make other videos on like certain things that I was told, certain things that I found work for me, my misdiagnosis stories, blah blah blah. Like there's so much more than just what I explained in this 20 minutes, but basically that's how I got diagnosed with POTS. And yeah, that was my journey in a nutshell. So thank you guys so much for listening, and let me know what topic you want me to talk about next.